The age of transformation is on. Now, whether you are a defender or you are attacked, you see any wars and the present what is happening in Russia, Ukraine, or in Israel, Gaza, most of the weapon systems for land warfare either are there to enable the tank to do its task, or they are against the tank to not allow it to do the task. If your question, I take a hypothesis, is tank relevant or not, then why is entire industry working for or against the tank? So the game is, the tank is air to air. The tank is, I would quote a small thing. Such question was asked in Lessons for 21st Century. There's a great writer called Yuval Hariri, and he was asked, is democracy the best form of government? So he says no. They said, what is the best form of government? You are the brightest thinker in the world right now. He says, in absence of any other thing, democracy is the best form of government. So today, in that, if you see that mosaic of the warfare, in absence of other doctrinal philosophies which may emerge due to technology sometime later, some things may change and may happen. But the primacy of a tank in a warfare as a protected platform capable of launching violence and giving speed to the advance is undeniable.
So seeing the rapid changes that are happening, what is your vision of modernization or capability development over the next decade? What do you see evolving? What are the key priority areas for India, seeing the context of unfolding wars around us?
Okay, this again, the Deputy Chief spoke in the morning that prediction is something which is a very difficult sphere. But it's a very interesting territory for human beings because it has an element of uncertainty. And we all want to dwell into this territory all the time to think we need a roadmap, and we can of course tweak the roadmap as the roadmap comes along. So the point over here is that what is our vision for the future? Our vision for future as an army, Indian Armored Corps derives its future from or a vision from the Indian Army vision. We are not operating in isolation. So the Indian Army vision of integrated combined arms team complex to operate effectively in multi-domain operations, which will have all the things which we all understand what is multi-domain operations, as with armor being one function of it. And it is an important function for offensive ops because when you get into the enemy territory, there has to be a protected platform to lead you into that territory, to start an advance, to start an offensive. Of course, infantry will be required, AD will be required, everything is very essential, AD will be required, artillery would be required. But how can you integrate all this and give a resource to the commander who's an offensive commander to achieve the task is something which, as of now, the tank will remain the primary actor for offensive operation. Of course, defensive also is going to be used, but for offensive operations, in near future, I see the role of tank not diminishing at all. Without this, the offensive operations in current scenario or a little, I would say, I will not crystal gaze into 40 years from now, but I'll crystal gaze into at least 2 decades. The tanks. Why is America going for the upgraded Abrahams? Why is Germany going for upgraded everybody is thinking and everybody is planning. And why are we going for a new Ranji, the FRCV? That means overall we all have come to a consensus that this platform is very essential to get the desired military objectives involved.
So that brings me to the next question on since I have you here and I'm a journalist, I would like to have an idea from you what's happening in our major projects. If you can give us an update on the FRCV, on the light tank, and a slightly, a question which a lot of people have been asking is what lessons have we learned from the past where we've seen delays in timelines? Are we past a certain stage, and what can we do in the future to curb that or shrink that as much as possible?
So there are 3 questions you have asked me. You told me to amplify a little bit on light tank, which I will do. You also asked me about the FRCV, and you asked me how are we coordinating or trying to overcome the time delay due to many reasons which happened earlier, how to the development process. Okay. Firstly, the Indian light tank. The Indian light tank is not something which has just emerged and we got the permissions from the government to go ahead with. This project has been on since last 11 years. A lot of consideration, lot of debate, lot of discussion, not only during my time, but during the time of my predecessors, all of them, and the not only Armour Corps, to get a light tank thought process into the overall doctrine of Army. Everybody is involved, the operations branch, the chief, everybody. So it has blessings of everybody after a lot of deliberation. But the point to understand over here is we have had a wonderful experience on light tanks. Light tank is not something new which is coming to Army. We have used light tanks, we had AMX then, we had Storm. And we also, have used these tanks at the highest passes in Jojila in 1948, Rajouri, Jangar. We had these light tanks. Those experiences are there. PT-76 in Bangladesh. But then slowly we migrated to medium tanks. And these medium tanks, because they were coming and we wanted to upgrade our entire mechanized forces, so it came and the light tank finished its life over a military life cycle, and they were phased out. But now, once we have realized that what we spoke in the morning by our former Chief General Sharma, the northern border, the effects on northern border, or the requirements of northern border, the plateau over there, where we require a platform which has got a fantastic horsepower, less weight, but good lethality and protection to achieve our objectives over there. So light tank is something which is going to be a absolute vital requirement over there, and that is why it is coming. So this project is actually going through two phases. The first phase we have involved our pride of our country, the DRDO, which is working with first time. It's again all these experiments going on. The first time they have chosen a partner which is a civil partner, Larsen and Toubro, and they have come out with a workable model which Army has not tried as yet. It is undergoing their internal trials, and hopefully we will do their trials next year. But that is only part of solution. The major part of that solution is going to go to the industry. And that industry tank, and we are paying, it is on DAPA model which somebody was speaking in the morning. And this industry model, this two industry partners are going to be chosen, selected by us based on various parameters which we have devised. And these three tanks, the Larsen Toubro tank, which is with DRDO and industry, out of this one tank will be selected. So that is where now the ecosystem has expanded, the thought process has expanded, and the coordination is far better. That is the light tank. Next question you had asked about the FRC, Reggie. Now again this project is an old. It's a normal cycle of Army induction of weapon systems into Army. A weapon system comes into Army for 30 to 40 years cycle. And after 30 to 40 years, we need to upgrade because technologies change, the platform is worn out, you can't keep upgrading it to after a certain level. So it is a replacement for our T-72s. So right now we have a wonderful fleet of T-72s which are functional. But by the time this project fructifies, the T-72s are going to get old. So this is going to be a replacement for that. So we have been, again, the government, after a lot of consideration, a lot of discussions, putting rightly into the mosaic of battle philosophy of future battlefield, and also infusing the doctrinal aspects. This tank has been planned and approved by the government. Now here it's a different model again. So why I'm giving you these models, because we have industry people sitting over here. In this model, we have kept the government DRDO out, but it is not out completely. It has got a major role to play. How I'll take. We will be selecting two civil partners, and these two industry partners are going to give us a project. And this project, these partners will be selected next year, and they will develop a project. But all the technologies which we have validated with DRDO, which are our indigenous technologies, are going to be injected into it. At least we are going to, if the industry is going to develop some technology of that type indigenously in India, of course we will take that one. But if not, we are going to give full play field to the DRDO technology studio. So DRDO is again injected in a different fashion. So the point is that is that. So we plan to get these tanks into service as per our plan next decade, around 2030-32, and that is the time the FRCV will come into. Last question you had asked me was, what are the coordination? How do the thing which were being discussed in the morning, that there is a disconnect? There is, I will not say disconnect, there is a little gap, communication gap between the requirements of the army and the technologies being developed indigenously by the captive organizations like the DRD. Now that gap has reduced. When I was a younger officer, and there are very senior officers sitting over here who are some in my chair also, and some coordinating the activities of my chair, it was impossible for any industrial vendor to come to army headquarters. Impossible. A vendor coming to army headquarters was a red flag. Today, industrial partner has to just give an official mail that I want to discuss this, or I want a guidance on this on our official email. He is absolutely never refused an appointment, and I can say this with. So this is a change. And similarly, now the DRDO is working. Earlier, DRDO, we used to give them one parameters. After some time, sometimes we used to change parameters. Sometimes they were not able to deliver our parameters. They used to change parameters. Now it's a monthly consultative process. Every month we have a meeting with DRDO on all projects separately. Like tank projects, I have a meeting with them. Artillery projects, artillery has meeting. But with the specific people of DRDO. And this meeting is monthly to check what milestone they are achieving. If they are not achieving those milestones, then in that meeting only the civil industry is also called, who are experts in that. So there is a lot of change. Though the points which have been given in the morning, all of them are very valid, because the experience of the people sitting over here in the morning is tremendous. And those experiences are the ones which are guiding us to bridge this gap and make the things a little more interesting.
It's a very comprehensive answer there. So that brings me to the point on Atmanirbhar. So I was very lucky. I was there at the unveiling of the light tank by DRDO and L&T. Seemed very impressive to a civilian like me. I'm sure once it gets to you, you'll take it to the end. But there seems to be a change in the past 5, 7, 10 years in which the industry has really passed through a layer, I would say, where they've been able to deliver things faster, quicker, maybe work more closely with the requirements of the user itself. So what challenges do you see in this path of Atmanirbhar that we are on, and how do you foresee reduction on foreign dependency for, say, the armored corps and the larger armed forces?
So there are two questions again which I feel you have asked. First question is that how do we get involved in Atmanirbhar, or how does Atmanirbhar help us? That is first question. And second question you said, how do we get take stock of the indigenization content and be comfortable that we have everything for war in our country? Fantastic questions. So the first question, the Atmanirbhar part. Now, nothing can be cleared by the DAC as a platform if it is less than 50% indigenous. So that is the rule today in the EDA. So if any industry partner wants to develop a platform, that 50% content has to be there, or he has to have a commitment MOU of a foreign partner setting up an industry in India to produce that component in India, which will be indigenized as part of a spiral development program by the last product. So these are the measures which have been infused into the acquisition process, and these are very good, because earlier the industry was always thinking the easy way out. That was the quickly get things from abroad and give it to us. Now they know they have to give the indigenization content. And now indigenization content can't be that if I have to buy from China, I can get it via Singapore. Now, letter of the content is being checked. So the invoice is being checked. So the point is, you have to make it in India. at the the first tank may have 50%, but the critical systems, we are going for some critical system which I do not want to elaborate. The critical system and platform, not only for Armour Core, for others also, we have gone on some very critical systems up to 75% indigenized or made in India under MOU by our industry with foreign collaboration, but made in India. So that is the second part. And what was the second question?
So this was on Atmanirbhar Bharat and challenges that you foresee coming in the industry.
So I do not see any challenges. You know, if you see the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat, it's a fantastic concept. And there are about 7-8 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. One is the government policies and regulation with the defense corridors coming up at two places which you are aware. Now this policies of the government have been aligned in a wonderful manner. The industry is getting full support. So when I interact with industry, the industry is more than enthusiastic and keen to establish their factories over there. And they got the clearances for their FDI also on special projects. So all those MOUs, everything is happening. That is the first part. Second, Indian entrepreneurship is unmatched. So it is like, unleashing a tiger in the jungle. Now the Indian, I am actually so encouraged to see when the industry, big stalwarts from the industry come and give their projects to us. The enthusiasm and keenness and their proactive josh is infectious. You feel that actually this industry had not been given a chance to realize its potential. The next point which I feel is important is the finance. With FDIs, little relaxation by the government and some of the costly projects which we are funding, like the light tank and FRCB, the prototype funding is by the government. So industry doesn't have to, they are investing part of the money. Major part is being, and if it goes waste, the loss is of government, but we are taking that risk. It's an American model. So it's the first time such things are happening. So industry is ready to take that risk. But it has to be sure whether it can deliver at the right time period or not. Next, the only point where we need to work a little more is the innovation, leadership and guidance. That is a place where there is still a lot of work has been done. I've seen a lot of very experienced army officers joining the industry, guiding the startups, but I feel there should be more proliferation of our experts into these innovation teams as guides, because everything cannot be answered by people in uniform. Of course, we are always ready to give them appointments, we are ready to guide them, we are ready to discuss the projects as much as we can, but there is the time is finite. So the point is, if they have the right person who has worked in these fields as part of their innovation team, as part of their manufacturing team, it makes a lot of sense. And I can see that in the industry part also, if you see the complete mosaic, the major industries have caught on this. In fact, you saw the CEO of Bharat Forge is an army officer. So such things are happening because they have realized that this guy, this person, his experience of understanding what army wants and understanding the language which army uses in its PSQ and GSQR, is communicated correctly to them, and he will get the answers right. So that is something which is a work in progress, happening at a good pace, needs to be paced a little more.
So I have a lot more questions, but I also want to open up the session for a few questions from the audience. But before that, sir, since morning we've been hearing a lot about this cavalry spirit. Can you tell us what it is really, and what is your message to the younger officers and you men out there?
This question is very all your questions are so interesting. But the cavalry spirit, I think the audience, we got a wonderful people, very senior people sitting in audience to give you a thought on cavalry spirit. That I will give it to them, but I will give you my take on cavalry spirit. A cavalier, what is a cavalier? Cavalier is a person who has lots and lots of humility. First point, that is my take. But this humility is backed by an professional arrogance, which stems out of professional competency, commitment to the job, high level of integrity, and undeterred focus to have their result achieved. This is, in short, my thought process on Cavalier, what a Cavalier should be. And of course, when you combine all this, what was spoken in the morning, automatically you will get the offensive spirit, because in offensive you have to be told to achieve an objective. If you do all this, you will reach the objective. But I will request General Sharma, who is the senior most person, to tell you more about Cavalier spirit. He would be a better person to give a broader. So the next part of your question was what message we would like to give to the young Armored Corps. I have nobody to give to the Indian Army. So young Armored Corps officers, so I have been noting these points since morning. So I am going to sum up some of the points which our young officers must take home and keep it under their pillow every night. So what do we require if we have to continue with this Cavalier spirit and the change, all that has been discussed, the technological change, geopolitics, all those things are known to everybody. Our young officers today need to be multitaskers. We have to get into multitasking, which we are, all these things we are addressing also. They have to be multitasking capability. A guy who knows, he should know how to fight on a tank, but also take care of the drones. He should be adept in taking on technical infusion, because technology, there is nothing, I would say, like one officer, one speaker in the morning said that we need more brains than brawn. Of course, brawn is also required because you have to effect, but brains are required in a larger amount. Not that the brains were not there earlier. There were plenty of brains earlier, but the emphasis was on brawns. So the point is, now the emphasis is on brains and brawns. So we require people who can adapt to the technology, who can go one step ahead and predict what technology we need. That kind of officers we need, but that requires a lot of reading, that requires a lot of technical background, which we are addressing at our level. Then we need mentally agile officers who are versatile to change. We have been talking since morning about the lessons from old wars, our experiences of our wars, the lessons from Ukraine, Russia, the lessons from this Israel-Gaza. But no two wars can be same, which was also discussed. And no two wars ever will have the same thought process of why we went to that war. The thought process will be different, the mechanics of that war, methodology, everything is going to be different. So what is required is that versatile mind to, if we have to see the history, we have to see if we fought a Bangladesh war in Dhaka in 1971 war. How do we fight this? Had this war been fought with the modern technology, what would have been the result of this war, and how this enemy also, if we had modern technology, how could we go it? Similarly, maybe Al Alamein campaign of Rommel, he fought that campaign, but had Rommel all drones and everything in Al Alamein, and his 125 mm or 120 mm Rhine metal gun, which is the best in the world, or 125 T-72, and his MTU engine, which people are sitting over here. So the point is, and how he would have fought that. So we need to see the old experience from new glasses to understand history. That is my take on understanding the history. If we have to just see what happened that time and what, there we are only experimenting on leadership qualities. That leadership was good, strategy was good, but what about technology? Infused technology, that is what, now these things we are doing. So I'm not saying something which is my dream, no, we are doing it. And finally, I would say the most important quality which our young officers and all of us need to have is have a creative mind. We have to broaden our horizon, we have to be more listeners and less of speakers, and we have to get the ideas, absorb them, and then after filtering decide in a group discussion or a collegiate. It's more of a cabinet type decisions now. How do we implement these ideas? We need to go from a personality and I would say a single thought culture to a collegiate and a multitask culture.
The format I think we follow, I'll take 3 questions from the audience, sir, and then you can address them in sequence.
My name is Colonel Mahesh. I'm not an Armored Corps officer. I'm not a cavalry officer. Sorry to use the wrong word. I'm an ex-signal officer. I was with the Tatas and L&T Defence for 17 years post-retirement. So I have very one short question. So you spoke about the lessons learned from Ukraine, from Israel, etc. Sir, I think I was involved in FICV, the Make One project, which we never heard the what happened to it. With BMS, TCS, I think has come. So I think, sir, have you learned with BMS, the Battlefield Management System? These were the two Make One programs that came out. There were down selection, everything, then nothing came out of it. So I think, sir, you need to learn lessons from these two programs, in terms of not having a unrealistic prototype QR budgeting, etc. They've been, very painful experiences, especially from the industry, which invested a huge amount in them, and then there was nothing.
My comments in one or two things. Firstly is that when we talk about is the tank now going to be outdated, this point came up. I don't think we should be talking about that. What we should be talking about, to add certain technological innovations to the tank, which we are thinking for the future, whether it is Ranjit or whether it is Zorawar. And first and the foremost is, I hope we are catering for certain factors like technological innovations and disruptions, which include AI, cyber warfare, information operations, rise of asymmetric and hybrid warfare, particularly these days when we have many other forms of people, non-state actors, including terrorist and insurgent operations. Next is that we have to be a part of MDO, joint warfare, multi-domain operations. When we make a tank, I have been